to treat teenagers convicted of violent crimes remains a thorny issue for law enforcement and our courts. Is an offender and society best served by a lengthy prison sentence, or should money used for incarceration instead be put toward rehabilitation and anti-recidivism efforts? In our Prime Focus tonight, 2020 co-anchor Deborah Roberts meets one-time offenders convicted of serious crimes in their youth who are making the best of a second chance for themselves and often for others.
Trevell Coleman was a budding hip-hop star. Once signed to Bad Boy Records, Trevell, a.k.a. G-Dep, was known for hits like Special Delivery.
This for my special delivery. Spit like this, get my wrist all glittery.
And Let's Get It.
Ain't no way you can take this from me. Ain't funny. Shake it, honey. Take it, money. Now let's get it.
But today, his life looks staggeringly different.
At one point, you had it all.
Released from prison in April, he's sharing his painful story with younger generations about how easy it is to lose it all.
My name is Trevell. They call me G-Dep.
Yet, even at the height of his fame, he couldn't shake a dark secret from his past. In the chilly pre-dawn hours of October 19, 1993, when he was just 18 years old, Coleman shot and killed a stranger during an attempted armed robbery, not far from the East Harlem projects where Coleman was living. The case sat cold for 17 years, until G-Dep made a shocking decision in 2010.
I just fired.
To confess his crime.
What led you to walk into that police station?
I think I was just at a point, where it was like enough is enough.
After a week-long trial in 2012, a jury convicted him of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. That's where I first met G-Dep back in 2013. His story haunting me and so many others.
A lot of the burden is lifted. I see that was what I needed to do.
But at the end of 2023, after serving more than 13 years, G-Dep was shown mercy. With the support of the original prosecutor and judge, New York Governor Kathy Hochul granting him clemency. Were you surprised that clemency was offered?
Yeah, I was blown away. I didn't think that was gonna happen at all.
In April, G-Dep finally walking free. He sat down with me again shortly after his release. What struck you the most when you got in the car and you drove away?
Me leaving that day, it was like, wow, I'm not coming back. It was the darndest feeling, I was like, wow.
Do you feel truly free right now?
Yes, I do. There's still things that I have to, I would like to do, to give back to society. Came from these same projects where y'all all growing up at right now.
Coleman now taking those lessons to his job at Scan Harbor, a nonprofit serving at-risk children and families in Harlem and the South Bronx.
I just knew what I had to do, though, at the end of the day, That was the main thing that made me turn myself in,
Yeah, he did something wrong, but his conscience, which moved him to turn himself in, is very special to me. And I'm hoping that he can really share this and explain this to our young people.
Can you honestly say that you got over all the fears and all the guilt of what you did?
When you take somebody's life, what do you do to make up for that? But all you could do is make steps towards it, making it better.
You were 18 when you committed this crime. Does that give you a certain amount of authority when you're working with these kids to talk about the way your life went versus where they are now?
Definitely, because I understand how impressionable kids are.
What did you learn about yourself?
I was a follower in a way, you know what I mean? I learned that I wasn't really being an individual.
And while he now tries to help guide vulnerable kids down the right path, G-Dep knows the harsh reality. Many end up in prison, some even for life.
You're under arrest. Please be quiet.
Federal and state officials have debated appropriate sentences for youth offenders who've committed violent crimes.
At this correctional facility, almost a third of the 950 youths incarcerated are here for murder or manslaughter.
As has the U.S. Supreme Court in a series of rulings. In 2012, Miller versus Alabama found that mandatory life without parole for juvenile homicide offenders was unconstitutional. 4 years later, that ruling was applied retroactively, affecting an estimated more than 2,000 people.
Any juvenile convicted of murder or sentenced to a mandatory sentence of life without parole has to be resentenced.
Since the rulings, more than 1,000 juvenile lifers have been released. And as of today, 28 states and Washington, D.C. have banned such sentences. But not Pennsylvania, which had the most so-called juvenile lifers of any state at the time of Miller versus Alabama, the majority from Philadelphia.
We still find ourselves in a situation in Pennsylvania where a child as young as 10 years old can be charged, prosecuted, and convicted as if they were an adult.
Raekwon Deal was born and raised in Philly and moved into his first apartment in May.
I'm finally out my mom's house. I'm finally living alone how I need to be.
In 2016, when he was 17, Raekwon was convicted of 2 felonies, serving 22 months in an adult county jail.
Being in jail is never no fun place. You're in a brick wall. They can make or break you, and luckily it made me. Though I went to prison, I came out as a better person.
While incarcerated, he found support from the Youth Sentencing and Reentry Project. Their mission, keeping children like him out of adult jails and prisons and bringing home juvenile lifers.
They supported me even while I was incarcerated by sending me books, just coming to see me, sending me letters.
Raekwon now looking for solid ground.
I think a lot of people that come from jail don't have a voice. They kind of already are flagged as a bad person forever.
He's now a van driver, finding a close mentor in John Pace, a senior reentry coordinator at YSRP.
If they go to prison, I'm going to be there supporting them through that experience that they're going through. If they come home, my job is to identify the resources that could be helpful to them.
Pace himself no stranger to their experience. At age 17, he was sentenced to life in prison for second-degree homicide. Pace served 31 years and earned a college degree while incarcerated.
It's almost motivation. I look up to it, and I can only imagine what he went through all those years in prison. So I was shocked, man, you know what I'm saying? But look at him now.
John now helping Raekwon get settled in his new apartment. Getting a lease difficult when you have a criminal record.
I had good credit, but it didn't matter. Once they ran that background, it was like,
A lot of times you have people not willing to give them that opportunity. And so my job is to identify the resources or individuals who are potentially willing to provide those opportunities.
People like Tess Hart, the co-founder and CEO of Triple Bottom Brewing Company in Philadelphia.
I know from experience that a job can change a life, and I've seen it change a lot of different lives from people with a ton of different life experiences, and it's something that no one should be excluded from, especially if you've done your time.
The brewery launching a 16-week paid apprenticeship program. A big opportunity for 25-year-old Eugene Lee.
You know, I'm getting to that point where I understand where I want to be in life and who I want to be in life. So yeah, with this program, they actually pushing me closer and closer to that goal.
Back in New York, G. Depp at age 50 looking for his new beginning with the associate's degree he earned in prison and the support of his wife Letitia and now adult children.
What do you need, do you think, right now to be successful in life as you re-enter freedom?
I think, everybody needs a good support system. I have my friends and family, my wife, my children.
And tapping back into what he loves most, music, working with local producers and artists at Scan Harbor's recording studio.
What does a productive life to you look like right now?
Being occupied, having the ability to stay, fruitful.
We know what they say about idle hands. Our thanks to Deborah Roberts for that.